So, this is going to be a ramble about bickering and infighting with the Occupy groups that I've been watching, both at Occupy Colorado Springs and Occupy Denver, and even down on the real Zugatti Park original Occupy Wall Street. A very divisive topic is the permit that Occupy Colorado Springs got. Almost half the people, just under half, that have come to be a part of the Occupy movement in Colorado Springs disagree with the idea of getting a permit because they do not believe they should need a permit to peaceably assemble. They believe that the city ordinance is unconstitutional and they should just neglect it. Now, I can see that logistically, given the amount of size the Colorado Springs Police Department has in their lockup, the amount of space that they have, and the amount of protesters that would be there on any given day being less than 100, it's possible that if they all collectively just neglected the city ordinances that keep them from setting up tents and setting up certain structures on public property, that the police could just put them all in jail. Enough to, silence them for at least 3 days before they all bailed each other out. And today at noon, I'm going to go to a court hearing for Steve Bass. 3 or 4 weeks ago, Steve got himself arrested in a tent so that he could fight that battle for everyone. But other people who are part of the Colorado Springs movement, they decided to get arrested as well. Jack Semple got arrested 3 separate times. Amber Hagen got arrested once. The time that they both got arrested was on my channel just a few videos ago. Now, the infighting about what this Occupy movement is about, and how they should proceed with a democratic process, is the infighting has gotten to a level where I can't put forth the good side of Occupy Colorado Springs or Occupy Denver and feel like I'm not lying to the people that I raised money from, with a fundraiser. And that's why I'm making this ramble, because I feel like for me to be honest to the people that I raised funds from, I really need to at least point out that there are things other than the good things that I show in my videos. And this infighting got to such a level that last night on KOAA TV, one of the news organizations here, they actually made an entire story about just the infighting. And a big point of contention with the democratic process here is, can people vote and basically come to a decision that other people at the time or later are going to disagree with? One of the things that the majority, the slight majority, wanted to vote in was, if you go off and do illegal things, then you do not represent the Occupy movement, and you are no longer a member of Occupy Colorado Springs. That vote went 19-14 the night that I covered it in a General Assembly. I had my cameras on. I did not put that video out because I wasn't trying to portray them at their worst with all the infighting. And those people who dissented, their opinion was, who are the majority of people to tell the minority that they're no longer part of the group anymore if they go off and have a dissenting opinion about something like standing up for their constitutional rights and setting up tents. So this permit issue has become very divisive because they have 5 canopies allowed by their permit, the 30-day revocable permit, which should be coming up for renewal pretty soon. But those 5 canopies had to be signed for by people who are a portion of the majority opinion. And if somebody were to go off and break the law, they don't want them to be behind the information tent representing Occupy Colorado Springs. And to that effect, they put it to a vote. And when the votes were being passed, like 19 to 14, that slight majority is making rules that the other ones, if they knew this new protester lingo from all across the country, they would have been putting up X's saying, if you pass this, we will leave. They didn't leave, to their credit, but it's left a bad taste in the mouths of many of the Occupy Colorado Springs protesters. And this is something that I haven't been putting out there. And I really want to, at least in this ramble, point it out and put it in the description box. The reasons why I don't cover the bad side, the reasons why I don't stay there at 2 o'clock in the morning to film all of the drunks coming out of bars that try to start fights with them, is because that's not what the movement is supposed to be about. Their location is sometimes unfortunate in that there's a whole bunch of bars downtown and a whole bunch of people that don't drive or get cabs because they live in the same area, so they just go to the bars by walking and they walk right past them when they come out of the bars. I did put up the story of Monkey Boy in a video, who was a drunk anti-protester, who just got out of a bar. I put up I've put up Mr. Clean, but I really don't feel like that should dominate what my videos come out as. I'm trying to cover the good portions, the portions that they're fighting for. Like when I go to Steve Bass's trial at noon today. So yeah, I've just had this overwhelming feeling like this is coming to a head so much, and I raised funds to buy supplies for this, and there's such infighting, and I did not put out this information that this infighting existed. Now, in the links in the description box, you'll see the article from KOAA News from last night with video, and I was very afraid of what they were going to say, but they at least gave it as much of a positive look as they could have. They have not been known for treating the Occupy movement very fairly, but I think as positive as it could be to cover that protesters are fighting with one another as to who is Occupy Colorado Springs. They put it forth that at least the last things they said in the video were that that both sides are willing to are looking forward to working together, and I hope that this can get resolved. But this seems to be an issue that both sides are exable on. One side wants to be able to make democratic decisions and use a majority, to vote things in, like if you break the law, you're not part of Occupy Colorado Springs. If you go off and intentionally break the law, when they collectively or as a majority have decided we're not going to do that, and you go off and do it, then you're not a part of us. And then the other side says, well, everybody's still a part, they just have different opinions, and yeah, they look to the rest of the country and how that's going. They look to Denver and Boston and Oakland, and they say that's where the change is happening. And the experiment that we're doing here in Occupy Colorado Springs is the anomaly, which it is, but history will tell whether working with police or working against police was the better answer. And when I see people from Occupy Denver who are tired of getting tear gassed and beaten down by riot cops coming down to us to get pointers on how to get a permit, it's telling, because there's even a faction within them that is not happy with having clashes with police, and they want to try to work within the existing laws while still working to change them. And I've even seen division with news stories about Zuccotti Park, the Occupy Wall Street there, where the kitchen decided that they weren't going to serve homeless people anymore. They weren't a soup kitchen, they were a protester kitchen. They weren't for everyone, which to me is against what I have been raising funds for. I want, anyone who shows up to protest to be able to get to the supplies that I've dropped off. But, in Zuccotti Park, they had a day where instead of serving spaghetti bolognese and Mediterranean salad, the chefs got together and decided to just serve peanut butter and jelly sandwiches as their own protest, which is odd because the protesters in Colorado Springs and in Denver are eating peanut butter and jelly as a staple, not just a protest food from within. That's different worlds. But there are many dissenting opinions within this movement, and when they make it all inclusive and they say we are the 99%, in order to hold that number, they're going to have dissension within them. And it just got to a level for me that I could not feel like I could honestly raise funds for supplies for them without saying this right now. So for the greatest amount of dissent to the things that I would never want to put forth as being what the movement is about, I'm going to point you to that article with video from KOAA. I'm also going to leave links to the open group called Occupy Colorado Springs, where a lot of infighting takes place, but it's a discussion, and it's, I think, using the internet to discuss things back and forth by typing can sometimes be less vicious than being in someone's face at a General Assembly. So I think it's good in one way, and it's bad that nothing but fighting happens there as far as people arguing. Also, I'm going to leave a link to We the People, which is a group that my friend Ryan made, where a lot of infighting also happens. So yeah, this is just a ramble on, coming clean as far as really portraying this as reality and not just the good things. I personally have a very big problem when I hear people saying that we're not here to feed homeless, we're here to be protesters, because I don't mind any of the supplies that I drop off going to homeless people, but there is a group of people within the Occupy Colorado Springs that want to say, well, if they come here and protest for a while, then yeah, sure, they can get something to eat. But if they just come for food, well, they're turning people off. They're turning potential protesters off, in my opinion. And I have noticed in Occupy Colorado Springs that there is a lack of support from the homeless people because of the permit issue, and also because of people just being naturally prejudiced against homeless people, I guess, and not wanting them to be part of the group unless they make a huge showing that they are supportive. So I have a problem with that, and I also have a problem with the lack of youth that I see both in Denver and Colorado Springs and now in Pueblo. I feel like they're not really making an effort to bring them in. They would rather get rid of anyone who isn't learned and passive like Gandhi. They would, anyone who might be a hothead, they want to, not have them be part of the group. In Occupy Colorado Springs, they are set up in a park that is on the other side of where they're set up, catty corner to a high school. And at certain times in the morning, right before the school opens up and right after it closes, you can see a couple high schoolers go there. But I would expect a lot more participation from local high schoolers for a protest that's right next to the high school. And I don't see it. And I know that Inventor Gorilla and I will agree on this point at least, that that is a target demographic for people who are trying to enact change in the world. And musicians who want to have their music heard target teenagers surely because they're open-minded and they're ready to be reached. And they especially talks of revolution, and changing the world. They're very open to those ideas, and I just don't see the outreach to them. And going forward, I'm going to continue to cover the good parts of what I'm seeing at Occupy Colorado Springs, Occupy Denver, and any other occupation that I go to. I've gone to 4 now. But, yeah. This will be my one video where I say that there's bad stuff, and people argue, and sometimes they go for the throat when they argue, and there are parts of people's opinions that I strongly disagree with. And some of those I have swallowed just in order to help progress along. I've held the hand of people who want to pray over things, and longtime viewers of my channel know that I don't really like praying at all. But, when people want to have a moment of silence, I have been silent and let them have it. Pray for whoever, fine. This isn't that issue. The original issue is being in solidarity with Occupy Wall Street. I've seen other issues come up, such as the medical marijuana protesting, which a good portion of the original Occupy Colorado Springs protesters were medical marijuana protesters, and they were, you know, they've been protesting for a long time, and some of their events have mixed in with Occupy Colorado Springs, which some of them actually make sense if you investigate why they're protesting. The parallel between the city ordinance of no tents and the statewide legality of medical marijuana versus federal level, and how there's an irony being put forth by the same county court as far as, does federal trump state, or does state or city trump federal? It makes sense that that's part of what they're protesting, but let's see. Also, something that I want to disclose is that as a skeptic, I've got opinions about other people bringing things like talking about the Bilderberger Group, or the Trilateral Commission, or the Illuminati, or chemtrails, or HARP, the array that changes weather patterns, or a lot of different things. 9/11 truthers that will go so far as to say that it was all a conspiracy from George W. Bush. It's, when I hear things like that, it is off-putting to me, and I have seen a lot of it. Just as much as you would expect from a group that is. So, the internal memory card on my camera ran out. I guess I talked for a very long time. I'm just going to sum it all up now and say I didn't feel like I could continue to raise funds for the people that I'm raising funds for without pointing out that there is drama. I just don't show it as much on my YouTube channel. In the description box, basically what I'm going to do is just leave links to all of the stuff that I would not put forth as the best foot forward for this movement. And from that, I think I will, be a little bit more honest with people as to what I'm trying to do here, and I hope that a lot of that drama can just resolve itself. I'm not addressing it anymore. What I am going to do is put my nose to the grindstone and work on things that actually are, in my opinion, a lot more productive than what they're doing. But maybe, some productive things can come out of all the bickering that they're doing. I hope. I wouldn't bet on it, but I would hope that something good can come of it. And as far as productive, I'm going to put up a few videos from what I recorded yesterday and over the weekend. And then I'm going to go to Steve Bass's court appearance. And here's to productivity.